Hello, my name is Margaret Adele, and welcome to another indie book review. This time we're talking lesbian witches. No, wait, I take that back. One of them is pansexual. Regardless, today I'm reviewing Spellbound by Ophelia Silk. This is a paranormal romance all about this good Puritan-esque woman that has always followed the strictures of society, going into the woods and getting attacked by a strange being and being saved by this strange woman in dark clothes living in a cabin in the woods. She is the witch the entire town is fearful of. But as Jane begins to heal from her wounds, she has to take this medicine for a while, she begins to realize there's more to the witch than meets the eye. And yes, of course, as you can tell, there's a WLW romance in this. That idea alone made me so happy. I need more WLW romance. And this author, Ophelia Silk, is actually a pen name for an author that I've reviewed before. However, I forgot to get that author's permission to make the connection, so we're just gonna leave it at that. Regardless, I'm always looking for more WLW, and this one did have some steamy scenes. I think the one in the bathtub was probably my favorite. But in general, I really appreciated the chemistry between our leads, Jane and Adelaide. Jane is very much the I will use the strictures of society as my defense, when you know what you're supposed to do and how people are supposed to react to you. She almost uses those as her shield in a way. And Adelaide, on the other hand, is very abrasive and blunt and lives life on her own terms. And there are definite relationship issues and conflicts that arise because of the natural tendencies they have. Jane with being so obsessed with politeness that she will lie, and Adelaide with being so obsessed with being totally blunt that she'll just end up being unkind. And so there's kind of that emphasis on becoming a slightly better person than you are for the sake of the other. But I did like how the conflicts felt natural. It is not a story where the conflict will suddenly come out of nowhere, or like it'll be like one miscommunication suddenly brings the whole thing down. Like there are genuine reasons for the struggles they have, and the chemistry between the two of them, the slow burn of the steaminess, or as slow burn as something can be when the entire book is like 250 pages, was very nice. I appreciated it. There were certain aspects of the book, and the reason I had to take off a star was there were so many things I liked the idea of that I didn't feel like I got enough of. So you get to know a little bit about the magic system in here. One of the things I liked the most was you use flowers to protect yourself from the beasts in the woods or the voices in the woods. It's not exactly clear what dangers there are in the forest, but you have to figure out what flower will protect you, because not all flowers work for all people. So there's these spells to figure out which specific flower will be your protection, and it uses the language of flowers essentially to pick your dominant or one of your dominant personality traits to decide what flower will be your protection. And I love that idea. I would like to see that idea delved a little bit more into. I would like to see the dangers of the woods around them delved a little bit more into. Like, there are creepy beasts, and there are voices that seem to know a lot about your innermost fears and struggles, and will use that to try and lure you out into the darkness for reasons, but you don't know much more of it than that. There also felt like in the last 40 or so pages, a ton of characters were introduced or brought back, but were not very much looked into. There's a lot of emphasis on needing a community that's different than the society that they already have, but a lot of the characters don't really do much until near the end, and suddenly they're important. And I think I would have liked to see more of them at other points in the story, so that the reveal or the building of communities or any of that kind of thing would have been more built up, mostly because there were so many people introduced so quickly that they basically kind of felt like cardboard cutouts, like queer cardboard cutouts. So like I get it, but still, I maybe would have liked to see more of Jane's life in society at the beginning of the story, because it starts very shortly before she's attacked, or later on through different views. But in general, I liked just how queer it was. Very, very much a lot of focus on basically magic was a symbol for also being queer. Like almost everyone in this world that is interested or does magic has some non-straight leanings at some point. The other thing, and I can't really fault it against this book because it was one of the themes, it's just maybe a personal pet peeve of mine, is people bluntly talking about society, I guess, is how I would say that. And what I mean by that is we all know society has strictures. Has always had strictures. But for the most part, it kind of like goes unspoken, or like people talk about it in vague terms. And in a lot of cases, the books where they're trying to shine a light on society strictures, they'll have even the characters that like adhere to the strictures talking about them in very blunt expository ways. And it's this really niche pet peeve of mine. I get that. And so I tend to not necessarily hold it against a book or like knock off a star or anything for it, because I did like the themes that it was going for. Namely, I liked that while Jane wanted to be part of society, in reality, she also just wanted to be around people. She didn't want to be a total loner like Adelaide said she did. And there was the question of, is Adelaide really happy being completely on her own with no one? And I like that, because I feel like in a lot of books with this kind of setup, they would rely on the, well, you don't need anyone. You can be a loner in the woods with your girlfriend. You shouldn't need anyone ever. And that's not how people really think. That's not what people really need. And so Jane's a whole talk about how, okay, yes, the society I was living in wasn't great, but we still need something else. Like we can't, can't just be happy being alone with literally no one else in our lives beyond each other in the woods. And that's true. You do need an entire community, a support network. Like one person can't be your whole world. That's not healthy. And I know some people might argue with me about that, but I fully believe that. Regardless, I gave this book 4 stars. I can use my fingers, which is not a phrase I should be saying in a WLW romance review. Regardless, I definitely suggest this one if you are looking for more WLW, or you want a paranormal romance, or you've ever wanted to see the good Puritan woman go queer. She is a lesbian, you find out. Adelaide is the pansexual, but it's great. Very much enjoyed it, and I would highly recommend it. So, I am still closed as of right now. However, I am very proud of myself for how much I am getting reviewed. I'm actually under 10 books on my review list now, which that has not happened since 2020. So, a little bit closer to getting open again. Thank you so much for your patience for all of the indie authors that are still hopefully waiting on a review from me. I swear this is the longest I've ever been closed, and I'd really like to be open again. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day and a marvelous tomorrow.